All right. I do believe we are live. And yeah, and we're back here again for the second week in a row to do our. This time we're going to do a couple of different episodes of Night Gallery. Of course, I am Agoraphobe, and this, of course, is the MVP is what I've been referring to you as. The MVP is Joey Machol. Welcome again, man. It's always good to do this with you.
Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh hell yeah, always, man, always will, man. I don't see anything changing that for sure. But yeah, we have two different ones here. We got season one, episode 3, and we decided to throw in season two, episode 7. Season one, episode 3, of course, is the house and certain shadows on the wall. Season two, episode 7 is Midnight Never Ends and Brenda. Um, I for this first one, I will be doing for the first episode that we do. I will be doing the house, and Joey will be doing certain shadows on the wall, which is definitely the better episode. But I do like the house. I think it's something to do with I always liked Joanna Pettit. You know what I mean? She's got this 70s feel about her. Like she couldn't exist now. Joanna Pettit couldn't. She had the hair and everything in the 70s. It reminds me of my childhood so much. She does, and I think that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, she always
Hey,
looked
Joey,
like she always looked like she was doing one of those shampoo commercials. She always had the hair flowing and everything, and she always looked like she
yeah,
popped out of a commercial. She's a very attractive woman, and the 1970s they had a bunch of them: Farrah Fawcett, Linda Carter, and and Joanne was one of them too.
right. She did quite a few of these episodes actually. There's at least 3 or 4 of them that she did. How you doing tonight, Jerry? Doing good, man. Hopefully. That is cool, man. Still working on that Lucio Fulci documentary. Hopefully, you guys have seen my sample, my sneak peek. I got a 4-minute sneak peek. I just cut 4 random minutes out of it, so everybody can check it out. It's on my channel now. If you guys want to check it out, I've been getting really good feedback on it, and it feels really good. And that's kind of the direction I'm going more. I used to be a live guy, but I really want to create now. I really want to create. I still do this, like once a week with you type thing, live doing these reviews, because this is kind of new to me too. On my channel, you don't see many reviews. I haven't reviewed much. It's just not what I did. So I'm just kind of changing up. You know what I mean? I just needed that change. I needed to do this, and I needed to make like this documentary is going to be 30 to 40 minutes, and I'm making it as professional as possible, man. And so far, it looks and sounds really good, in my opinion. So after that, I will continue on doing it. What all have you been doing, man? Still going on with Marty and hey, Paula, how you doing?
Yeah, I do the show with Marty when he has him. We do it like 1 or 2 Sundays a month. We do like we've been doing like covering movies from the 1980s, the top 5 favorite movies from the 1980s and 90s,
Ooh,
and I think we're up
that's
to
nice.
yeah, it's his idea, and we're doing 93, 94, and yeah, he's got his girlfriend Jen on there, who's really cool,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and Jen had her channel too, but it got hacked. We were
Really?
doing this, yeah, she had to cancel her channel out because it was hacked, and but we were doing we were doing like Mafia Wednesdays. We were covering the Sopranos series. We were just about finished with it, and then we did movies like Goodfellas, Bronx Tale, and Brooklyn
Yeah.
Rules and stuff like that. And we have a lot of fun. So she's gonna bounce back again. She's getting her channel back ready to do another one. But before she can do live stream, she's gotta get her subs back again. But so I was
Yeah.
doing it with those two, and of course I whenever you have a show, I and you want me on, I always come on.
Hell yeah, man. Hell man, I mean, you're always invited, man. And as far as I'm concerned, we can do these night galleries until both, the first 2 seasons are done. As far as I'm concerned, we'll talk about that, whatever. Um, hey, Rusty, how you doing? What's going on? Rusty says, "Evening, Gore and Joey." Good evening, Rusty. Um, nice to see all you guys here. Much appreciated. Hopefully you guys are old Night Gallery fans. They don't play in syndication like I think they should. They did for a while. I have both of the DVD sets that came out like 15 years ago. I never upgraded to Blu-ray because DVD is good enough for the Night Gallery. You know what I mean? It's not supposed to look all pretty and shut in your face. You know what I mean? To me, those DVDs look great and they will work just fine. Um, so you are my guest still. So do you want to kick it off with Certain Shadows on the Wall, starring Agnes Moorehead? I love Agnes Moorehead. I've always adored her. She is Darwood. Hello, Darwood. My name is Darren. Oh, sorry, David. She harassed the shit out of him on Bewitched.
So you want me to start off first then?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you, but yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Before I start, I just want to say hi to my girlfriend Christine. She's gonna watch this later on, so I just want to say hi to her.
Excellent.
I told her I would. And anyway, this is Certain Shadows. It's the air date was December 30th, 1970, and it was directed by actor Jeff Corey, who was a director and an actor, and he also appeared a couple of episodes of the Night Gallery too, and he was in a lot of westerns. So he's a very good director, also a lot of TV stuff. So he directed this episode, and also stars Lewis Hayward, who was an old time actor back in the 30s and 40s, and a lot of great films like The Man in the Iron Mask and Captain Blood, and he was married to Ida Lupino, and he plays the doctor in this episode, the brother Stephen, and he's kind of crooked, in this episode. So you gotta watch him. Then of course the great Agnes Moorehead, who played Endora on Bewitched, and oh my God, I loved her.
Yes,
she had a great presence, a great way of speaking. She was in the movie The Bat with Vincent Price, and she carried that movie. She was tremendous in it. So I've always been a fan of hers. And then also Grayson Hall, for Dark Shadows fans out there, she played Dr. Julia Hoffman on Dark Shadows and in the movie House of Dark Shadows. And I've always been a big fan of her acting style. She's really good in this episode too. And then there's Rachel Roberts. She plays the youngest sister in this, and I only seen her in one thing. She was in a movie called Baffled with Leonard Nimoy, and she was in that. So that's the only thing I've seen her in. But everybody else I'm familiar with except for her. The movie starts off with Stephen, and he's with Agnes Moorehead, who plays Emma, and Emma is very sick, and Agnes Moorehead did a great job in this. She looks really bad in this. She looks like she's really sick, and she's in bed, and he's reading Dickens because she's obsessed with the author Charles Dickens, and he's reading Dickens, and she's not doing well at all. She's you can tell she's laboring. She's having trouble breathing, and you can tell something's off with Stephen. He keeps asking her if she wants tea or milk, and she's telling him no, and then he goes over and he pours her a glass of water. And he puts a pill in it, and she's kind of looking at him oddly, like, this might not be good for her. So she takes the medication, and she starts talking about having funeral arrangements. She wants a small service with only close family and friends, and very short. And he's playing it off, saying, "Oh, you're stop being morbid. Just think about us when we were kids." And that's when you find out that he's not only her physician. He's also her brother. I guess she's the eldest of the four children, and they lived in this house.
Conflict of interest there.
Yeah. So they all lived in this house. They all grew up in this house. So he just, and you can tell he's cold. And she asked him how much time she has left, and he says something like men propose and God disposes. And which is like a really cold line to tell your sister who's sick. So then he goes downstairs and he talks to the other two sisters, and he says that she's only got a matter of days. And then she ends up that they're all talking downstairs, and you can tell that he's shrewd. Grayson Hall, who plays Anne, she's she's kind of on to him, and he's talking about how he left his lucrative practice to come back here and read stories to her and take care of her. And she said, "No, you had a failing practice because you were a gambler and you were broke. That's why you came back." And you can tell he's one of those family members that's looking for someone to die so he can collect the money. He's one of those kind of people. And so she's on to him, and then the other younger sister, played by Rachel Roberts, Becky, she's kind of you think she's kind of naive, and and they're all worried about the sister, and then all of a sudden you hear a crash, and he runs up the stairs, and she has passed away. And he's not heartbroken at all. He takes the book and he throws it in the garbage, and he says, "Goodbye, Dickens." And all he's concerned about now is cataloging all the property, because that they're all supposed to get equal shares of the estate. So he's cataloging the all the items in the house. But then shortly after that, they all see her shadow on the wall, and it's creepy, because it's like she's sitting up in bed with her hands like this, and no one can figure out.
How she looked earlier. Exactly how she looked when she was sitting up earlier. Yep.
Yeah. And no one can figure out why. I mean, not as creepy. I mean, if that's your sibling's shadow, most people would have got the hell out of the house and said this is not normal. But they all stay there, and he's saying it's certain shadows, and he tries to move the furniture around, and he tries to paint over it, and the shadow is still there. So and the one sister, Anne, says, "I don't think you're going to get rid of that shadow," and she's kind of hinting on that he did something. So they're eating dinner, and as they're eating dinner at the table, you can still see her shadow on the wall. And then the phone rings. And it's the funeral home, and he says, "Yeah, she died of I forget what the sepsis or something like that. I think it was." And and he says, "You don't need to verify it. I signed it. And so you could tell maybe he did something wrong to her, which he did." And then the one sister, Anne's, on to him. She's telling him that is that your diagnosis or an alibi? And he kind of gives her a look. So then he's back in, and you can see he tried to paint the wall. He's got paint on his jacket, and the other sister, Becky, comes in, and she's talking to him, and she's going to clean his jacket off for him. And he asks her if she wants a sedative, and she says she doesn't want it. And she's bringing him tea. And to drink. And then she goes and she's talking to the other sister, played by Grayson Hall. And then you find out that she has put the same pills that he was going to give to her in his tea. And she tells him that Stephen should get a good night's sleep tonight, because she put the pills. And Grayson Hall kind of knows. Then the next thing you know, he's passed away too. And the two sisters are looking at the wall, and you see now the Agnes Moorehead character's shadow is still there, and you see the doctor's the Stephen his shadow is now on the wall with her, reading the book. So it's like he's forever. And you can hear his voice as the episode continues, and they're forever together. She's listening, and he's reading Dickens, which he didn't want to do anymore. So he's forever reading. He's forever reading Dickens to her in the afterlife, which is kind of like his punishment for doing what he did.
His own hell. Yep.
That's his own private hell, and that's. And I read somewhere that's one of it was listed as one of the creepiest episodes of the series. That's, like I said, it was one of those. And I've been in an older relative's house when I was a kid, where everything is meticulous, everything is old, you don't touch anything, and that's how that house reminded me of. But to see, like, I got 5 siblings. So if one of them had died and their shadow was on the wall, I would not be in that house. That would be kind of really creepy. But they stayed in the house, and I guess the 2 sisters stayed in the house, even though the brother was passed with the other sister, and if they're forever in their own world, afterlife, and he's forever reading Dickens to her. So I thought that was a fitting end to his character, because I mean, to kill your own sister and in the story, she was an invalid, but he helped her go quicker than she was going to go.
Yeah. What I found funny about it, man, is when he was letting them know that she had died, he was talking about how there's no need for any further inquiries. In other words, he didn't need anybody else to check her out. And then yeah, I mean, you could tell the two sisters, they gave a shit about her. You know what I mean? They were broken up when she died. But him, no, he was a sponge. He was there to take what he could get. And yeah, and he got his own private hell forever reading that. Yeah, because when he goes over and sees her when she's dead, he says at last, at long last. And then he
Yes.
tosses the book away and he says, "Good riddance."
Yeah, Goodwin's Dickens. And he comes down the stairs, and the one sister, Anne, is comforting the other sister, Becky. And he kind of walks down, gives a phony hand
Right.
on the shoulder to Anne, and then the other sister reaches out for him, and he walks right past her. There's no, and she was the emotional one out of the bunch of them, and he walked right past her, and the only thing he cared about was cataloging all the stuff in the house and seeing how much money. And he even says we can make a lot of money, and the youngest sister doesn't want to sell the stuff because it's their family history. So you're led to believe,
Right.
did she accidentally poison him, or did she really poison him as a payback for the sister and for selling the stuff, because she told him you can't sell the stuff in the house, and he was going to sell it no matter what, man. They were going to split it 3 ways, but he was going to probably try to take the rest of them out too.
Oh yeah. Well, when he first came down, when he first gave her the pill and stuff, and right before she died, and he came down the stairs, as soon as he walked to the living room where they were sitting, he was like, "Now what way is the inheritance supposed to go now?" He double checks, and then they tell him it's supposed to be divided in thirds between us. And he's like, "Okay," and that's when he starts messing with the piano, and then asking about the piano and saying that we can get be a lot more valuable and all this kind of shit. So yeah.
Oh yeah, he says. He says if we can get this tuned, we'll get more for it. And that's
right.
The sister just died. And he's talking about tuning up a piano and if you have siblings, I never lost a sibling, thank God. But if I did, I would be the last thing I would be thinking about would be selling their property to get money for myself. No matter how bad I might need the money, that wouldn't make a difference to me.
Yeah. It makes you kind of wonder how in the hell he had the discipline to get through medical school to begin with,
Yeah, I mean, he must have been, like I said, she said that he was in debt from gambling, and and I've known people who have been gambling addicts, and it's a real thing, and you'll do anything to get that money.
Yeah. My ex many years ago, she had a little bit of an issue with it, more than a little bit. But yeah, she'd get her check and put the whole damn thing in the slot machine.
Wow.
That was right before they took him out of all the bars here in Indiana. It was right before they passed that law and took him out. They just had him in all the bars. Just had these little, the cherries and shit. Yeah.
But what do they call what do they call those things? The one-armed bandits, because people lose their life savings on those things.
Oh yeah. Yep. Well, be next episode is starring Joanne Pettit. It's just her, and I can't remember the guy's name that's in it that plays the real estate guy. But this is directed by John Aston.
Yes.
So it's like hell yeah, and those of you who don't know who John Aston is, of course, that's Gomez from the Addams Family, the father of Mackenzie and Sean Aston.
Yep.
But the ex, of course, of goddamn. What's her fucking name? She's in 2 or 3 episodes here too. Patty Duke, and one time she was Patty Duke Austin. But yeah, this is called The House, and Joanne Pettit plays a woman named Elaine. And basically what it starts out is I guess all the time when she goes to sleep or whatever, she's driving the car down this, and it's just real serene and real weird, and she feels a peace, a changeless beauty, a dream. There's no fear, there's no tension. It's like she's beckoned to drive to this house. She don't know where it is. She just anticipates. And she's driving. She's not sure where she ends up, or where it is. But she ends up at the going down this long road to this house. And when she gets to the house, she goes up and knocks on the door. She notices the brass knocker and all that kind of stuff, and she's aware of knocking. But no idea what she'd say when people answer. because she don't know, she didn't know why she came there, and then she'd just leave, and then after she'd leave, she would notice the front door opening, and then it just blur into this white, and then it switches over, and she's telling her psychiatrist that she's an inpatient at a mental, depression place, whatever. I guess she was depressed and shit. And she didn't even know where the house is. She don't, but she remembers every detail of it. She says even from back 10 years ago, she was having this dream. And see, she knits when she's talking. When she gets anxious, she knits, and they talk about her being released tomorrow. And she drives. I think it might be a red Impala, maybe. I'm not sure, like a late '60s Impala. But when she gets the next day, she gets released. There's an old lady sitting there, and she's got good ridden. And the nurse is like, "What? Well, you don't like her?" And she's like, "No." She said she just never felt right. She never had both feet on the ground. She's one of those people. So switch off, and next thing you know, she's driving to the house. And when she gets there, a man says, "May I help you?" And she's looking around. She don't see anybody. Finally, she sees him. And she just pulled in, and the house is for sale. She didn't know it was for sale. She didn't even know how she got there, because supposedly she's not dreaming now, right? Well, they walk up to the door. She didn't realize it was the same one from the dream. I don't think, not to begin with. But she recognizes the brass door knocker and the fence and all this kind of stuff, and and she's just like, wow. So he shows her in. And she already knows what's ahead. He's like, "You want me to show you this?" She's like, "No." And she describes it perfectly. And he says, "Oh, you know the house?" She's like, "No, not really." And he just looks baffled. He says, "Well, someone told you about the house, didn't?" And she says, "No, but I dream about it." And he says, "Well, what's your name?" And she says, "Latimer, Elaine Latimer." And he says, "Okay, well, you're not from around here then." She says, "No, I'm from San Francisco." Like he keeps throwing the salesman thing on her and tells her it's 60,000. Even for that time, this was 1970, 71. Even for that time, 60,000 for this house. She said it's worth like 3 or 4 times that. And she says, "Life is so cheap. Well, what's wrong with it?" And he told her, "Well, there are 2 owners left, and that supposedly it's haunted." And she says, "By what? By who?" And he says, "Well, there's never been a crime here, murder here." He said there's just a disturbance. It was a haunting of some sort. Supposedly, and he pretty much blames it on mass hysteria. Like one person said it was, and then each person that comes in there, they just got that in their head, so that's what they think. And he said, as far as he was concerned, it wasn't haunted. And she said, "Well, shit, I'll take the house." And he's like, "Well, you want to see upstairs?" She's like, "No, there's no need. I already know." So she falls into his office, and I'm guessing they signed the papers or whatever. And yeah, she said she knows what's up there, and she said it's fine. And he's like, "In spite of the ghost?" And she's like, "No, because of it." Well, it switches, and she's driving again, but then little flashes, you see that she's sleeping. Well, she gets up and wakes up, and she's in the house. She's already in it. She's already moved in or everything, I guess. Well, here's no way. She goes outside, and she hears a car coming. Before she heard one leaving, she was still in the house, and now she sees one coming, and it's the salesman guy again. And she said she heard a car drive away. What did you see it? And he's like, "No, I didn't see anything. I seen like a couple of cows and all this, but I didn't see another car." And she was basically like, "Well, they basically talk a minute, and he just basically says he come to check on her. He says it's unhauntable. He said the place, don't worry, it's not haunted. It's unhauntable. He basically just doesn't believe in it. And she said, "No, it is haunted." And she'll wait. And he's like, "Okay." Well, he ends up saying something. She gets offended, and then she basically just says, "Good day," and goes in the house. Well, she goes in to make a phone call, and she says long distance, which tells you the time. She called up here and she said she wanted to make a long distance call. That tells you the time it was. She wants to talk to Dr. Peter Mitchell. Well, the doctor gets on the phone, and she tells him that she's found the house, and she's excited about it. She tells him it is haunted, and of course we don't know what he's saying. But meanwhile, in the background, we hear another car pulling up, and then we hear a knock on the front door. And she says, "Well, hang on, hold on a minute. I hear somebody at the door." So she goes down, and you see her pass the stairs here, and you hear her open up the door. You hear a gasp, and then she shuts the door, And she goes back upstairs to the phone and tells him that she's met the ghost. She says, "I've met the ghost." She says, "And I am the ghost, Dr. Mitchell." Oh, over and over again, you can see that she keeps reliving that moment. So yeah, she is. Yeah, she is the. Yeah, which these days you can pretty much guess that kind of thing, but back in 1771, you probably couldn't. You know what I mean? But
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Jesse,
This was Rod Serling was groundbreaking. I mean, what he did in the Twilight Zone and what he did on the Night Gallery, like a lot of stuff he was doing, people hadn't seen before. I mean, now things have been done to death because but back then, I mean, Rod
right.
Serling. I mean, Rod Serling was a genius, no matter what era he was in. I mean, he was a great writer and creator. So this
Yeah,
and John Astin did a great job
yeah, he did.
and directing it. And he's still alive, still with us. He's in his late 90s, and
Really? Yeah.
so yeah, so and he did a great job. I mean, like you said, most people are gonna remember him as Gomez Adams on the Adams Family,
Mhm.
but he's a very talented and funny guy too.
Yeah, he is, man. And dude, he did about everything, every kind of thing you could possibly imagine. Aston has. I didn't realize he was still alive. But yeah, that was the episode one. Well, no, season one, episode 3. That was the third one actually, because you had the movie, and then you had a couple episodes, and then you had that one. Then the second one we got is a combination. It's one of my absolute favorites. These are both really good. Midnight Never Ends and Brenda. And anyone who's seen Night Gallery and seen Brenda knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's season 2, episode 7. You talk about your super fucking brat. This little girl is played by Lori Prang, and she is so fucking good, man. She is so good at it, and it is so enjoyable. But yeah, we're going to kick it off with Midnight Never Ends, which is a really weird one. It's really surreal.
Yeah, this is a very good story, and this is Midnight Never Ends, like you said, and this is November 3rd, 1971.
Yep.
And it stars one of an actor I really liked as well. I wanted to do this one, Robert F. Lyons, Robert
Right.
F. Lyons, and like even though this was 71, and you fast forward to the 80s, he did a lot of action movies. He was in this one movie I really love called Platoon Leader. It's a canon film with Michael Dudikoff, and he's one of
Yeah.
the main. He's the co-star of the movie, and he's still alive too. He's 85 years old.
Wow.
But he was in Platoon Leader, and he was in Ceasefire with Don Johnson and American Eagle. So he kind of like he did a lot of stuff, but he kind of got into the 80s action movie craze back in the day. So he did a lot of stuff that I watch. So I like him and as an actor, and he's really good in this too. And it also stars Susan Strasberg, who was in a really good
Yes.
horror film that I like too. It's called Taste of Fear. It's a Hammer film from
Right.
1961, and
Yeah.
yeah, and she was in that. And then there's Joseph Perry, who plays Joe, the cafe owner, the bar owner, and he's a character actor, and he's been in a lot of stuff, especially in the 80s and 90s also. And then there's Robert Carnes plays the sheriff, and this starts out with Susan Strasberg, and she plays this character called Ruth, and she's driving along this lonely road, and she comes across a Marine, and he's got a sign and a guitar, and he's looking for a ride, and he picks her up. She picks him up, and they get in the car, and they start talking, and he starts asking her where she's from, and she can't recall if she's from Los Angeles, and she doesn't know pretty much anything that he asked, and it's and then as she's talking to him, he takes out a pen and paper, and he writes down something that she's going to ask him before she even asks it, and he hands it to her, and she gets frazzled, and she throws it out the window, and they keep talking about how they don't know about their past, but they just know that they've seen each other before, and they know what's going to happen. They know they're going to approach a cafe.
Yeah.
And it's like, and in the beginning, you're thinking that maybe they're ghosts and they're reliving something. So
Right.
they're talking amongst themselves, and eventually she's got a gun that falls out of her purse, and he says, "How did you get the gun, and she says, I don't know how it got it. And then she says every time it's different. So they've been meeting. This has been an ongoing thing with these two. So, and they say we're going to approach a cafe. It's going to be a heavyset guy playing solitaire. It's going to be closed, but he's going to let us in. So they're both having this conversation, and they're like, they're concerned why they don't have a pass, why they're repeating this. And he says, maybe we got to repeat this until we get it right. And so they approach and this is a lonely road. And they approach this this cafe in the middle of it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's open. So maybe they're wrong. But then as they get out of the car, the lights turn off, and he knocks on the door, and says, can we come in for coffee? And he says, we're closed. And he's kind of rude, and he says, well, so he opens the door, and he says, I'm open from 6 a.m. to midnight. Isn't that long enough for you? And he goes, look at the clock. And then there's no clock on the wall. And he looks, and then all of a sudden, then there's a clock on the wall, and it says 10 to midnight. So he lets them in, and they look on the table, and there he is. Like they said, he's playing solitaire with himself. And he jokes around. I bet you he's even cheating. And they look, and they see the cards on the table, and he's questioning them. And are you really a Marine? I've had hippies come in here with the uniforms on, saying they're soldiers and stuff. And but then they start to question him, and he doesn't have a past either. Like, he can't remember what the blue plate special was. Right. So now and he even says, "Welcome to the family," because they're all in the same boat. They don't know what's going on. It's like that they're saying deja vu all over again. This is all very familiar to them, but they can't put anything together. None of them have a past. None of them know where they're going. And then a sheriff pulls up, and he comes in, and he knows the owner. He says, who are these people, Joe? Because I never saw them before. And he starts to question them, and he asked the girl for the driver's license, which she doesn't have. He asked her for registration, which she doesn't have. And then he says, "Oh, I served in the army." And he goes, "When was that?" The sheriff says to the soldier, and he says he can't remember. He says, "Where were you from?" to the sheriff, and he goes, "You can't remember, can you?" So now all four of these people are in the same boat. They have no past. They can't remember anything where they're from. And then you think it might be like a ghost story. To me, when I first saw it, I thought it was like a ghost story. Yeah. And then the soldier pretty much knows what's going to happen. He starts searching for something, and the sheriff pulls out a gun, ends up shooting the character Vincent, the soldier, and with that, the story ends. And then you see that he's a writer, and he's writing a story, and he can't get the story right, and he keeps ripping the paper out of the typewriter and throw it in the basket. And that's what the story is. And the girl that was in the car with him is his wife. Yep. And he just can't. It's a story, and these characters come to life because he's writing for them, but he can't get the story right. So these characters have to keep repeating their lives, their stories, because he can't get the story right. And then it ends with they meet again, and this time it's raining. And and that's how the story ends. It's not a ghost story. It's just a writer who can't get the story the way he wants it. So it's kind of a twist. Like I thought it was, like I said, when I first saw it, I thought it was a ghost story, and they were all in like kind of like The Waiting Room, which we did last week. I thought it was gonna be something like that, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it ended up really unique. I thought it was really creative of him to make it be, instead of making it a ghost, like a basic thing, like it usually would be. He makes it a writer writing about it, which explains why everybody kept doing it over. You know what I mean, and everything. Yeah, it was really cool, man. There's a few episodes in Night Gallery There's a few of them that really take me back and remind me of Twilight Zone, and this is one of them. This could have easily been a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, so, but if you think about it, if you put yourself in like in the character's shoes, can you imagine if you don't know what your past is, you don't know what your purpose is, you just know a little bit here and there, and you know you've been repeating the same thing over and over again. That would be kind of freaky. That's how I was like, wow, I couldn't imagine not knowing my past and not
Right.
knowing my purpose, and you know, so that's kind of yeah, like I said,
they didn't have one because their existence began when he started writing about them. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it makes sense.
yeah, and every time he pulls the paper out and throws it away, they're like their story is over, and then a new one begins.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that kind of thing answers all of it. It answers why they didn't have any past, why they didn't know where they came from. You know, they knew they were only because he wrote it down. You know, it's just, yeah, very very creative. Yeah. You see a lot of these stories nowadays, with a lot of anthology series and just anthology movies that take so much from Rod Serling and what he started. You know,
Oh, the man was a genius.
oh, he was. Episode 2 of this, of course, is Brenda. Guys, this is so funny because I intended on doing Brenda to begin with. Well, Joey messaged me this morning because we talked about doing this episode 2. We just kind of decided to add this one in because we can get through them pretty quick. You know, there's short episodes. And he's like, well, do you mind if I do Midnight Ever Ends because I can't stand that Brenda? And I was like, yeah, that's cool, dude. You're not supposed to like her. You know what I mean? She's an asshole. This is written by Rod Serling and Matthew Howard, directed by Janet Swart and Alan Reisner, and it stars Glenn Corbett as Richard Alden, Barbara Babcock as Flora Alden, Pamela Ferdin as Frances Ann, and of course, Lori Pring plays the incomparable Brenda.
Can I just say something about Glenn Corbett? Yeah. Glenn Corbett's a really good actor, and he was in two movies that I really love with John Wayne. He played Pat Garrett in Chisholm, and he was in Big Jake with John Wayne too. He did a lot of he did westerns. He was one of those rugged guys, and he had the cool stash back in the day.
Yeah,
and he plays the father in this one, and then the guy that plays Jim, the neighbor, Robert Hogan. That guy was in so many TV shows over the years. He was in Batman, Hogan's Heroes, The Rockford Files, and MASH, and he was even on the soap opera Days of Our Lives. He just passed away a couple of years ago, but they picked two good actors to be in this episode, and Barbara Babcock, she was on Hill Street Blues. Yeah, she played Daniel J. Travanti's ex-wife on the series. So they put together a strong cast for this episode.
Yeah, your knowledge of old television and stuff is always very impressive, man. That's why I call you the MVP, because you just got this knowledge about this.
I watch too much TV. That's my problem, man.
Like, your knowledge is so vast that it got you through the first round, and almost you contended really well in a horror tournament. And you're not a horror guy. You're kind of all genres, and you made it past a horror in a horror tournament.
I did good the first round, but I got my ass kicked in the second round, though. So
Well, you're starting to get to people that their whole life is lived in horror. You know what I mean? Like, but I was impressed with that, man, because you told me straight out, I'm probably not gonna be very good because I'm not a horror guy, and I knew that. But I still want to invite you. I knew you'd do good because you just got a lot of knowledge, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man.
But all right, here we go. But yeah, this is I love these because I just can't stand that Brenda. It's like that tells you how good of a job she does and how well it's written too. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's about and you see Lori Pring, which plays Brenda, and she's stalking this butterfly. And you can just see the evil in her eyes, man. You wonder what the hell she's going to do to this poor butterfly. Well, it gets lucky and gets away. And then she's kind of peeking through. She's watching this little girl on the beach because what it is her and her family, they spend pretty much every summer on this island while he takes his break from work and she's out of school. and of course the mom. Back then they always had the mother playing the house, the housekeeper, house mom type shit. But he started making these sandcastles and shit. And you could see it building up there, and she's getting ready like she's a plane. She starts getting her shit together, and she runs, and she's like, "No, Brenda, no!" And she stomps all over her sandcastle and screams at her. She's fucking mad, man. That girl too, that Pamela Ferdinand, she was in a lot of shit too back in the day, the 70s, early 80s. They both these girls did a lot of shit. Yeah, and she stomps all over it. And Frances Ann screams at her, and Brenda says, well, Frances Ann, you finally decided to talk to me, you know what I mean? And she's, oh, did I do that? Be my friend, and that right there makes you start wondering about Brenda, you know what I mean? Because she's just like, it's just weird, man. But she runs off, and this girl was totally fucking, this girl gives her a nasty eye as she's walking away. But she runs, and then she sees this thing, and it's like a bush. And she's looking at it, and it looks like a weird bush. It starts moving, and it turns out that it's alive. So and she can tell. It comes after her, so she runs, and it follows her a long way. She goes across the fucking field. She goes through the trees. She goes through, and at one point she's hiding and looks around for her. And she's watching it. She's kind of hiding and watching, like my mom used to say. My mom would say something, and I'd be like, "Really?" She'd be like, "Yeah, you hide and watch. See if I do." But she's literally hiding and watching. She decides to come out and talk to it. For some reason, she just doesn't feel like it's her, and she taunts it. She said, "Bet you can't catch me," and that's what she says to it. And then she runs again, and then she gets to the pit, the same pit that she had talked to. Well, I didn't mention that, but she had talked to this Frances Ann about going to the pit with her hanging out. And she's like, nobody likes you, wants to hang out with you, and nobody wants to go to that pit. Well, when she gets to the pit, you can tell the light switches on and she gets an idea. But she starts throwing rocks toward the other side of the pit so that, so that the monster will walk toward the hole. And finally she gets it to, and it finally falls down in the pit. And she comes and taunts it again. Hello, you can't get out of there, can you? I think you'd better stay there. And then she leaves it. And then later on, she's with her dad, and he's giving her the riot act, and he's telling her she's got to go over and apologize. And he tells her, two wrongs don't make it right, all this, and he's just getting all over. And he tells her this thing: in each of us, there are two distinct doors. Behind the good door, there's good things. Behind the bad door, there's bad things. Well, she smarts off something. She's like, well, if you want the doors are open, then how you know which one to open? And she's like, that'll be it. And he screams, and the dude screams really well. I look later when he's going, Jim, what do we do, Jim? She's keeping herself busy with her imagination in her room where she's staying for the night. You can tell she's just a lonely little girl. You know what I mean? You can tell that she hasn't had a lot of people around. She's just trying to get attention. She's a basic thing about just wanting attention, just wanting some kind of companionship. And she just goes about it the fucked up way. Well, the next day, she's apologizing to Frances Ann and her parents. And she's asking her, they accept her apology because they're just being nice. You can tell they don't like her very much. I hate to think what all she's done, but from what they said, it's been a bunch of shit, like all summer. She's been being an asshole like this. And she wanted to get her to go. She doesn't want to go. And so finally Brenda leaves. She goes to the pit, and she starts, and the monster's still down in this poor fucking hole, man. He's down there. He can't get out. And she says, she asks the monster if it's a man, and she's curious about it, and she asks a lot of questions. And she says, I feel like you're old. She's really old. And you can tell she's just really curious. She's really starting to, she's taken to this monster, like she understands it almost. And it does this weird thing where it holds his arms out. And you can tell she's really feeling bad for it. So she drops a tree, like a tree root down there. I'm guessing for her to climb up, and she goes to start helping it climb up there, and she gets spooked, and she's like, runs away. Well, of course, it climbs the rest of the way out. And that night, she hears her parents talking, you're not quite sure what they're talking about, but they catch her snooping and send her back to her room. And then later, she sneaks up and unlocks and opens up the front door of the house and leaves it open. And she's hoping he'll come back and come in, of course. Well, later she wakes up and hears her dad struggling and having his wife call Jim to bring his gun over. And so, the monster's in the house, and he's just like trying to keep it back. And well, Jim comes in. And he said he said he'd seen it at his house earlier, he gets a couple of torches, and they back it off with torches, and they keep backing it all the way. What do we do, Jim? What do we do? He just screaming at it. He does it really well. He's freaking the fuck out. So they back it off, and you're guessing that they must have got it somewhere. They're not sure what happened. Well, she sees her dad coming back a little bit later, and she's just enjoying the whole thing. She says, ha ha ha. Ha 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 for our side. Can't kill it, can't kill a flea. And she's feeling like her and this monster have got like a camaraderie here. Well, she goes to the pit later on that day and she sees a pile of rocks instead of the monster. And so she checks and sees it there, and she sees it is in there, and she's hoping that it's not, that it's okay. And she hears it. And her dad comes and tells you get out of there right now, and tells her to come on because they're going back home. They're going home a little early, basically, is what it is. Summer's over. You got to get back to shit. I think he was just fed up with shit and he wanted to go back. He's just done. Well, they leave. Fall comes and goes. You see the stack of rocks there. It hasn't moved. Fall comes and goes. You got winter. It comes and goes. And you still this pile of rocks. Well, spring comes. You see plants growing up. And then Brenda is back. Her dad wasn't even sure if they were going to come back the next year, but they did. And she just looks older. She looks more mature. She doesn't look like such a bright little girl. You can tell she's gotten a little more mature, a little smarter, maybe. She's not as much of an asshole, maybe. When she goes to the pit, she sees a pile of rocks is still there, and she's so emotional about it. I mean, she says, "I hope you're not dead. Don't be dead." But she hears it inside, so it's not dead. And she says, "I love you. I'll always love you. I'll let you out. I'll give you life, and I'll give you love. We'll be born together, you and I together." And then it ends. But yeah, she did such a good job in that, man. Such a good job.
Yeah, that was a good episode, and like I said, when a character can make you hate them or you're annoyed with them because, like in the beginning when that girl was minding her own business, building a sandcastle, and it was just the way she came stomping in there and just totaled it. Yeah, and then instead of walking up to the girl and say, "Hey, you want to hang out and do something?" She destroys a castle and then says, "Hey, you want to hang out and do?" And it's like, that's not how you do it. So, that girl,
like, damn,
yeah, and that girl that want any part of her, and then I think when she wanted to take the girl to the pit, I think she was going to push the girl down the pit and give it to the monster. I that's what I believed was going to happen. I think if that girl went with her, she was never coming back.
I didn't think about that. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. For some reason, it didn't cross my mind.
Yeah, I think she was almost like a sacrifice.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I'm not sure that the monster would have hurt the little girl, but I think she was kind of wanting to because that became her only friend. And she was still so desperate when she came back the next year that you could tell that it was still her only friend.
That monster, the way it looked, it kind of reminded me of the episode of Kolchak, the Night Stalker, the Horror in the Heights. The way it was built, and now the monster in Horror in the Heights had more of a face and fangs, but this one was like kind of like it almost looked like a swamp creature or something like that. Mysterious looking. You couldn't really tell what it was. But when she opened the door to let it into her house, I'm like, oh my god, what are you thinking? It could have killed her parents.
Right.
I mean, you didn't know anything about this creature. You didn't know if it was harmless or if it was bloodthirsty.
Right. Yeah, and it turned out that it was just a lot like her. It just kind of looked kind of fuck. It just kind of it didn't. It kind of acted up and kind of looked scary and everything, but just basically was lonely. Basically, is what it was, and they kind of found each other, and she fell in love with it, man. You know what I mean? She was. I always wonder what happened after that. You know what I mean? She let it out and they fucking terrorize and destroy everybody and just live together, or what? I mean, what are they a couple?
That would have been like a good sequel. She could have made that creature unleash it on her enemies, and because she wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. She was she might have been like she was definitely mental and but
she's very emotionally
unbalanced,
emotionally naive, very emotionally immature.
Yeah. But she was smart though in a way. She was conniving.
Manipulative, yeah. Yeah. Usually people who fall short in certain ways like that with manipulation and just doing dirty shit, they're usually anybody that's real smart in one area is going to lack in another. And just with just in her case, it was a little extreme and a little malicious, um, because she felt abandoned. Even though she was only abandoned because of the way she acted.
Yeah, I mean,
Just like he was
the
doing her. Nobody wants to be friends or be around a little girl who's mean to him all the time.
yeah, and the father was trying to give a good advice.
He
He was
was.
trying to tell her to be good, open the good door, not the evil door all the time. And I don't think she wanted any part of the good door. I think she liked to be she
Yeah.
enjoyed being bad. I mean, I think she liked being bad, but at the same time, she wanted someone to be friends with her. But who wants to be friends with somebody who acts like that?
Yeah. There's actually a point in the story where you start feeling sorry for her, where you start feeling like, how did she get like this? Why is she like that? Did mom and dad not pay very much attention to her or something when she was little? Because that kind of shit doesn't just happen, man. It doesn't just, you're not born being that way and feeling that way and acting that way. You're just not.
Yeah,
So,
in my opinion, she probably needed mental help, but the parents didn't give her the help that she needed. They tried to treat her like she was a normal kid, but she wasn't a
mhm.
normal kid. Obviously, the way she was acting, she was lashing out, looking for attention all the time.
Yep. Yep. That's why she chose the bad door, because it got her more attention. It
Yeah,
was negative attention, but that old saying goes, negative attention is better than none.
yeah,
So I think she lacked a lot of guidance and a lot of attention, maybe the first few years of her life, and now it's gotten to the point where it's almost too late for him to start giving advice now. You know what I mean? I think he was working a lot, maybe, and her mom was busy with the house, and she just kind of, she didn't have any siblings or anybody close. They probably lived away from people, so when she got around people, she didn't know how to act.
yeah.
There's a lot of different ways we could go with this.
Oh yeah, she probably created her own little world that she lived in, and
Yes.
and then when she tried to live in the real world, it didn't work out for her.
Yeah, because I mean, you see when she's in her room, she's doing all the shadows and all that different kind of stuff. You can tell she does that a lot. She's really good at it, and you can tell she keeps herself entertained. You can tell that that's just something she does all the time.
Yeah,
That's just, and finally she found something that's just as lonely and sad as her. So yeah, good ass episodes, man. They're both really good. Do you want to try again and do it next week sometime? We could throw together a couple of really good ones again.
yeah. What I would love to do, the one where I can't think of the name of the title, but the one where Leslie Nielsen's got the patch on his eye, and he's in
Yeah.
and Fritz Weaver dares him to stay in the house overnight. That's a really good one with a very dark ending.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of because he plays a mercenary or something. He's got a patch on his eye. Yeah.
Oh, he's badass, and he's got the mustache, and he's got
Mm.
the patch on his eye, and Fritz Weaver, another great actor. He has a problem with Leslie Nielsen. I'm not going to say it, but they have a history together, and
Right.
he dares him to stay in this house. Um, and because Leslie Nielsen's got this reputation of being fearless, but he's not afraid of anything.
Right. Yeah. It sounds good to me, man. We could do that. And how about the other one where this guy has what's her name? It's got Sandra Dee in it, and she runs across this couple, and they've got such their cigarettes are different. They've got technology that's further along than what she's used to, and she just you know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. I can't think of the name, but I watched that maybe a couple of months ago. And Sandra Dee was really popular back in the '60s. So
Mm-hmm.
that'd be a good episode to do.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that sounds good. I don't remember the other ones that's on there, but we'll figure that out. It seems like that one's called Tell David, I do believe,
Yeah.
and there's another one on there too. I can't remember the McBains or some shit. I had to check it out. There's
Oh, there aren't any more McBains.
yeah,
That's
maybe.
a that's a creepy one.
So hopefully that's the one that's on there. I'm not too sure, but yeah, we'll check it out. What else you got coming up here in the next week or so before we do this? You got anything happening right now?
Nothing much. Like I said, I go on the trash picture show with Marty. I don't know when his next show is going to be. Like he does one or two shows on Sunday nights.
But
So, like I said, we've been doing the 1980s. You know, we started with I think 80, 81. I think now we're up to I think the next ones are going to be 93, 94, I believe.
cool.
And what we do is we pick our top 5 movies from that year, and then we do a couple of honorable mentions, and we you know we talk about why we like the movie and this and it's fun because
Rankings
and
are fun.
yeah, and then when you're trying to make a top 5 and there's maybe about like 15, 20 movies that came out that year that you really liked, it's hard to narrow it down to 5. So I'm glad they do the honorable mentions, but it's fun. I mean, I love doing top 5, top 10 stuff. That's fun for me.
Yeah, I did. I did a ranking here a month or two ago. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I plan on doing some more of them here not too long from now. I'm doing that, and of course, twice a month I do the extreme grindhouse theater, and like I said, I'm also working on that Fulci documentary. I'm like almost 3/4 done with it, and after that, I already got another one lined up. Yeah. So other than that, and I do this show once a week with, of course, Joey. But yeah, we will catch you guys next week. Thanks for joining me again, man. I always appreciate it. You're always welcome. You know.
Yeah, thanks
Um,
for having me. I always appreciate coming on.
hell yeah, man. I always look forward to these. These are fun. But yeah. I will. Well, shit. We always talk on Instagram, so I'll be talking to you in a little bit. I will see you guys next time. I don't do these live much anymore, but I do every once in a while, and I do these with Joey, so you'll see me during those and re-uploads or whatever. You guys take it easy. That is the MVP, Joey Machol. I am Gorophobe, and of course, you are not. Have a great day.
See you later, brother.
Later, man. Thank you.